besides depressive bipolar, a borderline.
Yeah.
Because I'm a black family, and I don't want a closed door on a bipolar, a borderline, because I don't want to stay in Collin County's jail.
So I think if my thoughts about that distinction.
I'm sorry, wait there.
No, you're good. Because we can be honest with each other, right? That's what I would be honest. That's one of the things I love about working with African Americans is we can go there. Like most of my African American clients can appreciate my ability to go there pretty quickly and be honest with people. And people they either love it or they hate it, right? But okay, so the thing about bipolar disorder, it's been overly used incorrectly. The label is used incorrectly. So the thing I would say about it is, it used to be called manic depressive disorder. Okay, so that's what the term used to be. Now, old school, right? They had that manic depressive disorder. And what bi means two, so there's two poles, right? There's the depressed pole, the sadness, the despair, that looks like depression. But the difference between unipolar depression and bipolar depression is that people swing to the other pole, which is what we call mania. But again, mania looks different. You can have 5 manic people and they look totally different. And so there is shifts in their moods based on their individual bipolar disorder. It's really too broad to classify because again, you can have 5 bipolar people and they look totally different. But what I do want to say is, one, mania can look a lot like irritability and agitation, or something called hypomania, which is sort of a milder form. And so people can get misdiagnosed because of that. If you think somebody has bipolar disorder, refer them to a licensed clinician or a psychiatrist so they can be appropriately assessed. And be mindful and care. Oh, here's the other thing I'm going to tell you. Be careful with using that term.
Please. That's what it is.
Be sensitive. Be sensitive because I've got a couple of clients who are African American that I work with, and they have bipolar disorder, and people use it so flippantly, and it's very hurtful to them when people do that, and they feel very. One of my clients, her pain is she doesn't want to have it because of the way people view it, and so a lot of our work has been to educate her and help her understand her illness and how to stay well. But she sometimes didn't want to take her medicine. She didn't want to tell people she had it. When she started dating, I was like, you got to talk to people. You got to let your partners know. And she didn't want to. So we just need to be sensitive, not to use terms, right. Even the term crazy, right? Yes. To be very careful in how we use it.
And I think that's more so where I was going. It's overly used and it's not used correctly. And I think as great as social media is, it is a shredding thing. And to be honest with you, I have not seen the video of Tyrese and all of that was going on, but I was getting messages in my inbox about it. And I'm like, I'm not getting ready to diagnose somebody over a video. I don't know the background. I don't know the history. I don't know what led to whatever it was he was doing. But I think it's just so overly used, and it saddens me because of that. People who really do have it don't want anybody to know because they automatically think this is going to be connected to them. So then we go right back to the original question, which was the stigma. They withdraw. They don't want to say anything, not knowing that you can live a good life with it. I mean, it's all about learning how to deal with it. Now, bipolar was something I shut the door on as well, but it's starting to open it up, and I know I didn't open it, so I'm going with it because I'm like, I don't deal with that either. But to your point, Kim, I have clients who have bipolar. They're not African American, but their mania is completely different. So one's mania is she goes out and get pets and animals and spend money like that. The other one starts doing things fast because they have OCD as well. And so they clean stuff and they do everything fast and they're just everywhere. So everybody's mania does look differently. Google is not your friend when it comes to disorders.
No.
So please do not, any disorder that you have heard us say, just come and ask us, cards or whatever. Don't go Google it and be like, oh,
instead we're from Wikipedia.
And Wikipedia. I even think sometimes WebMD every now and then.
Because you will have everything on there.
Right, you will have and I'm quite sure, I knew about me when I took my DSM, which is kind of like the mental health Bible. When I took that class, I had every disorder in there. I was like, oh my God, oh my God.
Or your family members.
Right, and I'm like, how do I keep switching all these disorders? So, just come and ask us, but I think what's very important is if you're realizing that your family members are doing something that you feel is out of the ordinary for them, or if you feel like he's just that uncle, he's just that aunt, but you have a relationship with them, then please let them know, we know somebody that you can go see, or why don't you just go talk to somebody that's outside of the family.
One thing I want to add with bipolar disorder, you can have 1 manic and 1 depressive episode, and that's it, and never have it again. I've seen it before. Well, the person's still alive, so. But I've seen. They've had like maybe a depressive or manic episode in 1984, and now it's 2017, and so they've never had another manic episode. And so it's one of those things too, where when you're diagnosed that one time, that is a part of your history, but so also sometimes it may not be kind of this rapid or reoccurring disorder or for that person, but it's also something to that's a part of their history. And so whenever they go to a mental health provider or a hospital or something, and that's something that they may share with the mental health provider or physician.
So since we're telling you all that if you need help, I guess we should go into what are the steps an individual should take to receive help for themselves or for a loved one. So what does that look like to reach out to a therapist, and what is the process? Because I know you mentioned a lot of people don't know what that process is. What is the process for them or for a loved one?
So again, once you feel or concerned that something's going on, I think one of the best things you can do, first you probably need to have a loving, respectful, kind talk with the person and say, hey, I love you and I'm worried about you. What you don't want to do is tell them they need to go talk to somebody.
You need help.
Don't do that, because the minute you tell a grown person what they need to do, they're going to do the opposite. So you really want to come from a place of, this is my concern, this is what I'm noticing, this is what I'm wondering about. If you need me to do it with you, if you need help, I'm here for you. The second thing, I think the best thing you can do, mental health is not something you want to be fooling with. You don't want to set the person up to go sit in a room with somebody and have a horrible experience and they're like, I ain't ever going back to go talk to nobody ever again. Yeah. And then they've got this negative experience. And so you really want to be intentional. Ask around. Ask people that you know and trust. Hey, would you happen to have anybody that you would recommend, or that and this is hard to do, because then you're exposing yourself and being vulnerable, but I really think referrals are the best place to start for mental health. We ask for referrals for plumbers, right? Like, if you need your car done, your car washed, you ask for a referral. So why wouldn't we do the same for mental health? And then if that doesn't work for you, then the next thing would be this is what I tell people. If you have insurance, start with your insurance company. If you want to use your benefits, grab the list and take that list and cross-reference it on the internet. And I can be a little snobbish about this, but I think if the person doesn't have a website, you might want to consider keeping it moving.
Yeah.
If they don't call you back.
We're getting there.
Okay.
I even said that. I mean, the picture.
You need to be able to find them and see them and do your research. Most people are becoming very, very good at doing research and finding mental health providers. And so if someone doesn't have a website, it doesn't mean they're not a good therapist, but you're maybe not going to be able to get the kind of information you need. So you do your research and you go through this, and it is laborious. You write notes and then you start making phone calls. So you might have a list of 10 people you start with, and you might end up with 3 or 4 that actually meet the snuff for you. And then you start making phone calls. And calling you back within a reasonable amount of time is extremely important. Now, I see heads nodding. We are notorious for not calling folks back. But count it to our head and not our heart, because most of us are in session most of the time. So it's a struggle, but you do want to call, and you want to write a list of you and the person, or if it's you, write a list of questions of what you want to know. What's important to you? What approach do you use? Do you take insurance? What's your fees? How do you work with people? Ask those questions, and then after you've called maybe 3 or 4 people, then you want to make an appointment with the person, or maybe 2 people.
And scheduling too, like availability. If I
Yeah,
work
that's
from
important.
9 to
Yeah,
6,
that's
or
important.
if I can only be seen on Saturdays.
So I know what I just outlined sounds very tedious and laborious, but for me, a physician, a mental health provider, a dentist, somebody who's trying to help me stay healthy, I want to choose well the first time. Because one of my things that my client said to me, I had a client that said this the other day, she's African American, and I was like, I think you guys might want to do some individual work, to help support the couples there. But she said, look, I'm not going to go talk to nobody else but you. So you need to go on and make the decision that you're going to see me. And I was like, okay. All right. I don't usually do
And
that.
it's true.
But she doesn't want to have to start and tell her story all over again. So you really want to try to get it right the first time.
Investment.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning investment. So, quality is important, experience is important, perspective, and the kind of work that the person does. So if you can use your insurance, that's awesome. But if you find yourself in a situation and you can pay, but you would prefer not to pay, just know that this is an investment. This is an investment, right? We make investment in handbags and shoes and cars and houses. But this, I tell my clients all the time, this is the gift that keeps on giving. The work that you do in your therapist's office actually has the potential, I may start crying when I talk about this, but has the potential to change the trajectory of generations.
Yes.
Because if you're getting healthy and you have children, you're helping them to be healthy so they can have healthy partners and they can have amazing healthy kids. You have the potential to change the world. So just be careful how this is an investment in your future. So, yeah.
And I had somebody tell me when I was starting into private practice, worried about fees and things like that. They said if you get rid of your vices, so smoking, drinking, purses, shoes, whatever, if you get rid of those things or either pull back on those things, you can afford to see a counselor. And it does have that particular impact on it. I will add now, I said it. For me, I gotta see your face. I have to see how you look to know if I want to talk to you. Why? Because I'm gonna be sitting across from you for 50 minutes to an hour, and I'm gonna be looking at you. I want to make sure. But I've had clients tell me I didn't chose counselors because I couldn't see their face. Why are they hiding their face from me? They want me to talk. That's what they said. They want me to talk to them, but they don't want to give a picture. So I think pictures are important, not for everybody. You have to choose what's good for you when it comes to picking the person that you're gonna get ready to have a relationship with, basically.
I would say with parents, if the therapist is not willing to involve you in the therapy, that's a good question to ask. How much of a parent involvement is it when you work with my child? You can't just take my child to a room and talk to them and then tell me nothing. So I work with parents, and you are invested, so getting that parent investment is important too. And so it's not just getting the child investment, because you know your child more than I do, but if a therapist is not willing to include you in parent consultations, check-ins, then you may want to keep
reevaluate
the situation, because that is your child, and whether they're 4 or 16, 17, they're still under the age of 18. And so until then, you have the right to, and it's not even the right to, but just you need to be involved. If you're willing to change, or trying to change generations and family systems, and it's important for the parent to be involved. So that's an important question to ask up front in the phone consultation.
Oh, that's so important. And I don't want to offend anyone, but I think that there is a tendency with non-African American providers to function in a very isolated way in working with teenagers. And we all know in an African American family that is probably not going to work. And but it's not a good idea, because as challenged as a child may be, they are what we call symptom bearers. They are not oftentimes the problem. There's problems going on in the relationship with their parents that we may or may not want to deal with that we need to. And a lot of the times your children are holding the symptoms because their marriages are so broken. But let me just tell you that right now, if your kids are acting up, there's a good chance that they are just responding to what's going on in your family and with your spouse. So I'm so glad you said that, because there's some therapists who'll be like, oh, bring them in, and they'll only work with the kid and they will not talk or engage with the parents, and that just is not going to work with us as a people. It's just not a good idea.
When I work with parents and I tell them you are involved, and you know I'm very honest and direct with my parents, and they say yes, I want the truth. And so when I said, sometimes we have come to Jesus sessions, and so it may be in the conference room and not on the couch in the nice cozy room. And so when they come in and we start having this dialogue about, okay, this is what I'm recommending, and she's like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, you remember when we had this conversation months ago? This is one of those times. So you may not agree with me, but this is the goal, to help your child. And so if we are on the same goal, we have the same goal, we're partnering with each other, I'm collaborating with you, I'm not just telling you what to do, but trust me. You have to trust the process. And so I need you to help. I need your help. I can't do this without you. And so being very upfront and honest with parents is important too.
And I think that's good about trusting the process, because when you come to counselor, whether you're with your children or individually or with your spouse, you have to trust the process and understand that there is pain in the process. Like, so I always tell my clients, the minute you don't like me and you're mad at me and want to storm out, we hitting something. We working. We doing our job. And they always look, because I say that at the beginning, the very first session, which they have no idea what I'm talking about. But I'm like, see, that's my disclaimer. Remember I said that? Session 1, here we are, and now here we go. Let's work through this process, because it's a commitment. Counseling is definitely a commitment. They say about 6 months to a year? Should be 6 months to a year commitment.
The older you are and you've been doing this stuff, the longer
it
you might
takes.
need to be there.
Yeah. Because you have to be prepared to dig, and you have to understand when you're digging in something, you have to feel at the same time. And but once you make it through the end, it's like, whoo, how have I been carrying that all this time? And it's such a release. It's a great thing. And I've been through counseling myself, and yes, therapists do go to counselors. I know that's some questions. Therapists do go to counselors, and we don't refer to each other, but we ask each other, like, hey, you know somebody? Because I don't want to talk to just anybody either. But I think that's great. One of the questions is, what are the benefits, which I think we've gone through. But the other part of that question is, what are the risks of going to counseling?
Ooh. A risk.
What are the risks? If there are any risks to seeking